Hello everyone and thank you for tuning into TradeChat. My name is Panzer and today I'm going to be talking about Blizzard's response to the Nostalrius legacy server drama and whatnot. Before I do that, I do want to talk a little bit about my Nostalrius video, which if you haven't seen, I'll have linked in the comments below. And speaking of comments, yes, comments are disabled on that video, because there's a portion of the legacy server community, if that's what you want to call them, that has lost their goddamn minds. And if you're not with them, you are against them. In the Nostalrius video that I produced, I did not give my opinion. I just tried to present both sides of the argument. And because I didn't clearly say I am pro Blizzard making a vanilla server, I was just getting annihilated. And I am a human being. I have feelings, and at the end of the day I can only be called so many names before I am fed up with that. And it doesn't have to do with anybody disagreeing with my viewpoint, because they don't even know my viewpoint, because I never made that clear. And I mean, for the record, I'm not against Blizzard making legacy servers. I don't care either way. It's not something that I would play on a regular basis, but if there's a market for it, then I don't see any reason that they shouldn't. That's my really radical viewpoint. Also, in that Nostalrius video, there was a fact that was incorrect. I don't really have any way of correcting a video after it's uploaded, but I made the statement that live RuneScape is more popular than old school RuneScape. The reason I said this was because I checked how many players were online on old school RuneScape, and it was 35,000. And without even checking live servers, I said to myself, wow, there must be so many more people playing live RuneScape, because RuneScape's a pretty popular game, right? Wrong. So apparently at that given time there was only about 30,000 people playing live RuneScape, so technically old school RuneScape is more popular than new school RuneScape, if that's what you want to call it. Although after learning that those are the figures of how many concurrent players are on RuneScape at one time, I'm not sure that RuneScape is a game that we should be comparing to World of Warcraft, because it has a smaller player base and it's free to play, which makes it pretty different from a pay to play that has a larger player base. But whatever, I apologize for making that statement. It was incorrect. I am sorry. So moving on, just like a quick TLDR, if you don't know what happened on Nostalrius, it was a private server that operated as if it was in patch 1.2-ish in World of Warcraft, which was late vanilla WoW. And private servers are against terms of service. There's a few reasons for this. Number one, obviously Blizzard cannot make money off of private servers, so that's always going to be, in any business, there's always going to be rules against preventing a business from making money. But then the other reason is that the way copyright law works is that if you do not aggressively defend your IP and you allow people to change it and modify it and build upon it, you can actually risk losing copyright to parts of it. So that's the main reason that private servers are not legal. So there was this server called Nostalrius. It operated as if it was in late vanilla. It had a pretty large player base, and I think what was kind of unique about it was that it actually ran for about a year before Blizzard sent a cease and desist to the server hosting whatever that made Nostalrius a thing. Are you following me? I'm trying really hard here. I don't feel very good. And then at that point, when Nostalrius shut down, some people lost their goddamn minds. And there were some YouTubers and streamers who were kind of fanning the flames, and there were some people who tried to kind of stand with Blizzard, and then I tried to kind of be impartial about the whole thing. But like I said, if you're not with them, you're against them. So I kind of ended up on the side that appeared to be standing with Blizzard, which, to be clear, I am definitely a fan of Blizzard as a brand. I trust that even if they do make mistakes, that they'll learn from them and improve the game from that lesson that they learned. I like all the games that Blizzard currently has out. I play a lot of World of Warcraft. I do play live World of Warcraft, and I've never played on a private server. But all that being said, I'm not I'm not against Blizzard making vanilla servers. I don't care. Like, I don't think that's what I would play on primarily, but I also don't care. If there's a market for it, they should do it. I don't know where this like idea that I was against it came from, because I'm not, but whatever. I don't know. What I do think, though, is when you're talking about vanilla servers, I think that almost every number that's brought up is entirely anecdotal. Because regardless of how many people were playing on Nostalrius and how many people are playing on live, it's really hard to compare those numbers, because one group of people has to pay and the other group of people doesn't. And regardless, you can't make an assumption about how many of the people who aren't paying would or would not pay, and you can't make an assumption about how many people that are on live and that are paying would even have considered playing a private server. There's just too many factors that make those two groups uncomparable, if that makes any sense. So it's like, people can say until they're blue in the face, I know X number of people that would pay to play vanilla servers, and that doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And that's not me being mean. That's from a mathematical standpoint. That's just the way it works. We're looking at things on a global scale with millions of people, not like a small group. I mean, where I live, a lot of people listen to country music, and that doesn't mean that where everybody lives, a lot of people listen to country music. I don't even listen to country music. Anyways, I don't know if I'm doing a good job explaining what I'm trying to say, but moving on. So today, which, let me just say for the record, I think today was a very odd day for Blizzard to respond to the Nostalrius thing, because today I feel like it had finally kind of blown over. It's been 2 or 3 days since people have been really ravenously angry about the Nostalrius thing. So it's on as someone who's sort of like in the community of people who's going to get, backlash for things that Blizzard do. I kind of wish they had made this statement a few days earlier, or not at all, because I feel like the timing of it is a little off. And I just said, I don't really feel like I should have to say this, but I'm going to. I just said, as someone who's like in the Blizzard community who might get backlash, I don't work for Blizzard. I'm not paid for Blizzard. Blizzard does not give me money. I'm not employed by Blizzard. I'm not even employed by Wowhead. I'm a freelance contractor for Wowhead. Like, everything I do is under my own creative control, and nobody tells me what to say or what not to say. Just because my opinion doesn't necessarily mesh with the whole opinions on YouTube doesn't mean that my opinion is paid for. I'm not really a negative person. I don't see the point in like harping on things that you don't like when you can focus on the things you do like. That is neither here nor there. So back to what I was talking about. So today Blizzard responded to the whole Nostalrius drama in an official blue post, and they kind of mimicked what I said about they had to shut it down because if you don't protect your intellectual property, that it could hurt Blizzard's rights to their own property. They went further to say that they actually looked into granting an operating license to Nostalrius, but there wasn't a clear legal path for them to do so in a way that protected their interests. Blizzard has also looked into developing classic servers, and like I talked about in my Nostalrius video, it would be difficult to set up because we're talking about reverse engineering the whole game. And they would also have to maintain multiple live versions of WoW. They didn't say this in the post, but it would require a dedicated support team. It would require dedicated developers. That would not be the same WoW team working on both games. It would be 2 different teams of people. So you're talking about a lot of work and a lot of cost, and you don't really know the benefit and how many people would play for the long term. And that's not to say there wouldn't be people playing in the long term. It's just saying it's a risk. One of the solutions that they offered, or I guess more compromise that they offered, was possibly looking into doing something like a Pristine realm, as they called it, which would remove all forms of leveling assistance like heirloom gear, character transfers, phasing, cross realm. I would hope that something like LFG would not be on this realm. And I think this is like a really great idea, right? But I don't think this is what people who want Nostalrius want, because it would have all of that post-Cataclysm era changes in the world, and it would have the new character models, and I feel like the people who have been, spamming anybody who's not what they appear to be on their side, and people have been spamming Reddit and the forums and all these places about vanilla and Nostalrius. Like, they don't want to hear anything except legacy version of WoW. They don't want to hear Pristine realm. They don't care that leveling is slow. They just want vanilla. And I'm not saying that's absolutely everybody, but there's certainly a loud vocal group of people who are making that known that that's what they want. Putting that aside, I think regardless of what that player base or that community wants, I think Pristine realms are a great idea. I would definitely level alts on Pristine realms as opposed to on regular realms. I don't think leveling is super fun anymore. It just seems like a race. Even though it does seem like a race, I don't think leveling is as fast as you hear people saying it is. Like, I saw someone today on Twitter that was like, oh, well, with Pristine realms, instead of it taking 3 days to get to 100, instead of it taking 1 day to get to 100, it'll take 3 days to get to 100. Now, I don't buy that at all. I think if you had LFG disabled, there's no possible way that you could get from 0 to 100 in 3 days. I guess maybe if you were dedicated to trying to do it, maybe you could, but that's not Blizzard's fault. If you could make anything a race if you ran fast enough. So I think that would be a great idea for the general player base of World of Warcraft, but I don't think that's going to make this group of people who want vanilla, who are mad about Nostalrius, happy. What would maybe make them happy is finding out that Blizzard has actually been in contact with some of the Nostalrius developers, and they're looking forward to working with them in the future. So I don't know if that means Blizzard is considering a legacy version of WoW, but I have a lot of mixed feelings on this, and it has nothing to do with actual legacy WoW, right? Because like I said, if there's a market for Blizzard to make a profit off of a legacy version of World of Warcraft, and if it's something that people are actually going to play and enjoy, and it's something, that, like I said, that Blizzard can make successful in their business model, I definitely think they should do it. But it's hard for me right now because I feel like you also shouldn't really cater to bad behavior. And I feel like the way this whole Nostalrius thing has gone down, like, people keep comparing it to RuneScape, and I don't feel like it's anything like the RuneScape thing. Like, people who are not taking a stand and saying, yes, I am pro vanilla servers, are getting harassed and attacked and spammed. And I'm not saying that every single person that is pro Nostalrius is doing that, obviously. I mean, it's because the thing is, like, anytime you're in a comment section, if you look at a video, say a video has 100,000 views, it might have 2,000 comments. So that means right off the bat, 98% of people who are watching that video are not commenting. So obviously the comments, either way, whether they're positive, negative, somewhere in between, do not represent the majority of people as a whole, because the majority of people don't find the issue important enough to vocalize their opinion, which there's nothing wrong with. So let me put that out there, that I don't think everybody who is pro vanilla, pro Nostalrius is behaving this way, but because we do have such a group of people that are being so persistent and spammy, and honestly it's to the point of like bullying. They're being mean to developers, they're being mean to other community members that they feel are not on their side. It's really hard for me to be sympathetic towards their cause, because that, I don't think you should behave that way and then get what you want. It's like when a little kid throws a temper tantrum, you don't buy them the candy bar. Like, that's not, you have to say no and hold your ground and do whatever. And kind of like the timing on it is really strange, because like I said, it just kind of blew over in a way. It just sort of got to the point where it wasn't every time I logged on, my feed was like filled with these Nostalrius comments. I feel like everybody had sort of simmered down about the situation, and because they released this statement that offered a middle ground. They're not outwardly saying we're going to make vanilla realms, but they're saying like, here's something we could do that maybe would make both people happy, because they're offering which I'm like sick and I can't breathe out of my nose, and now the word for that is escaping me, even though I've said compromise. That's the word. Compromise. They're offering a compromise, not what they want to hear. So I feel like all this backlash and all this anger just settled down, and I feel that being offered a compromise and not what they actually wanted is just going to kind of fan those flames all over again. And it's just, it's a really toxic place to be right now in the middle of all of this. So I sort of just, as much as I want Pristine Realms, I wish that this announcement had come 3 or 4 days sooner or a couple weeks later, because it hasn't quite simmered down to the point where people are calm about it. It's just simmered down to the point where people aren't freaking out about it, which they're, I guess, if that makes any sense. It probably doesn't, but I'm all hopped up on Sudafed and Alka-Seltzer and whatnot. So what do I know? What do I know at all? But anyways, I think a Pristine Realm would be awesome, but I think it's largely irrelevant to the crowd that wants vanilla servers. So yay, Pristine Realm, but I don't think it's going to help the situation as a whole, because I think that people who want vanilla just want vanilla. And I don't know. I don't want to like accuse anyone of having rose-colored glasses, and I certainly can't make a statement on how vanilla was as a game because I didn't play vanilla, but I just can't imagine that people would be happy playing the same thing over and over and over and over again forever. Like, the only way they could do, in my opinion, a legacy server is if they did it seasonally, where, like, you know, you had 9 months that you spent vanilla, and then 9 months that you spent in Burning Crusade, and then 9 months in Wrath of the Lich King, and then 9 months in Cataclysm. And the only way that they could do something like that is with a huge support team. That would be so much work. It wouldn't be that much work after they got all the way through it, but what are we on, 6 expansions now? Like, that's a lot to get through before it wouldn't be a lot of work. So, and I feel like we already have people complaining, like, oh, there's not enough content in Live WoW, and things take too long in Live WoW, and then it's so bizarre to me that there's such a huge, no, not huge, there's such a loud group of people that are asking Blizzard to take developers away from Live WoW. Like, I don't want anything taken away from Live WoW to... It just doesn't seem worth it to me. If they have to take away from the Live WoW developer team, like, I wouldn't want it. And whatever it was, I wouldn't want it done. But that's just my opinion. You're welcome to voice your own opinions in the comments, but I swear to God, I have like a limit of how many times I can be called the C word before I disable comments. I'm sorry. I can only deal with so much. I'm just a person. And I just, like, it's like, obviously, like, I've been on YouTube for 7 years now. Oh my God. But yeah, it's like 7 years now. I can deal with mean comments. I've only disabled the comments on, like, oh my God, like 2 or 3 out of how many videos do I have, guys? Hundreds. Probably not over 1,000, but probably somewhere between 500 and 1,000. And I've only disabled the comments on 1 or 2 videos. I'm not like a coward in that I can't deal with comments, but what was tough about the Nostalrius video is that it's not even my audience it's not my audience that's upset about it. It's coming up in like the related section. So people that don't even watch my videos, they're just angry about the Nostalrius situation, are coming and freaking out on me when, like, they're just assuming how I feel and how I think, and then, like, holding me responsible for their assumptions. It's really, really bizarre. But for the record, if Blizzard could implement a legacy or vanilla version of WoW that wouldn't take away from Live WoW, I have no issue with it at all. I don't care if they make it or don't make it. I'm not against you. I'm fighting the good fight next to you, I guess, but I'm certainly not your enemy or your opposition. And I do hope Blizzard makes Pristine Realms because they'd be freaking sweet. I hate LFG. I don't know if I'm in the majority, the minority on that one, but I feel like WoW was a lot more fun before LFG. I mean, it obviously has its perks, and I like it when I'm doing it, like, with guildies, but I would rather, like, I miss the days of, like, getting a group together and summoning and, you know, being, like, really dedicated to doing a dungeon. I've been talking for 20 minutes, so I'm gonna go. But thanks for watching this video. I'm gonna go take a nap or something. I don't know. I'm gonna go. Again, I said that a lot of times. Sorry. I'll talk to you soon. I love you all. You're my hearts. I'll see you soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye. Bye. Bye.